you have a CRF300L and are looking to extend its range, well then this is the video for you. Since buying this bike, I have found its range to be limited, and I'd like to improve that a bit. Luckily, IMS made a fuel tank for this bike, and in this video, we're gonna check it out, install it, review it, range test it. We've already range tested the stock tank, and we're even gonna give one of these things away. We're gonna do it all in this video. I did get this tank from IMS for free as soon as I saw it was available on their website, but it wasn't even out yet, but like it was like a product in the works. I was like, hey guys, I really need one of them tanks. And they said, sure, we'll send you one. So thanks to them, they hooked up with the parts, but there's no sugarcoat. Now I'm gonna tell you what I really think about this thing. I've already range tested stock tanks. There's no way around it. Like if it's like not a big difference, then you're gonna see it. But how does this work? Fuel tanks, they hold fuel. That fuel can make you go places. Wanna go further? Make the fuel tank bigger, it hold more fuel, you go more far. Because how much further depends on many things, blah, blah, blah. Look, the point is, the stock tank on this bike, it doesn't seem to be quite big enough. It's like every 70 or so miles, the thing's flashing at me that it's out of fuel and I gotta go get gas. But whenever I go get gas, I can barely get over a gallon in it. This thing's supposed to hold 2.1 gallon stock, and it gets, 60 to 70 miles to the gallon, even with my mods. So the first thing I think we really need to do is to go do a range test. Now, you may not be interested in the range test. You may just want to skip to the part I'm installing this. I always, in these install videos, use the chapters. Go down below, check out the chapters. But if you would like to see the range test,
on the range test. Full here, full here. These have been reset. Start tracking. So this will be the starting point for both range tests. Brought the GPS along, so not only can we be very accurate for the speeds and things we're going, because, well, as you might notice, my speedometer to my GPS is a little off. That has to do with the supermoto wheel setup and gearing I'm running. We're going to drive this bike until it actually runs out. Some notes about running a fuel tank out of fuel like that. Yes, that's not like the best thing to do for it. However, for your sake, I'll do it to mine twice. As long as you're not doing it all the time, I don't think it'll be a big deal. Also, when it does run out, I'll be sure to quickly switch this off. Turning this off will turn the fuel pump off. Another thing, of course, to note is that my bike is not completely stock. I am running supermoto wheels, handful of other bolt-on mods, and then there are a few engine mods I have. We do have CBR cams in here, although they're only a little bit more aggressive than stock, and we do have some custom tuning. We are going to be running a little more fuel. Anyways, the rest of this is just boring. I'm just going to cruise here. I'm going to turn some jams up. I'll cut back when something of interest happens. According to our gauge here, we should be at a half right now. We have gone 37 miles, and we've used half of our tank already. Well, there's the Red River, here's Oklahoma. We're showing 2 bars left. Then 56 miles. Guess this is as good as a place as any to turn around and start going back. It's not that I don't like you, Oklahoma, but like I just spent several days over here. Gotta do at least one of those on the range test. It is realistic. Welcome back to Texas. Yahoo! Our fuel gauge is all the way down to the last bar. It just started flashing. I think we've gone 77.9. So anyways, now we're in the fun part. Now we're in the, I don't know part, about 100 miles. And we're still just flashing on E. It just stuttered on me real hard there. Oh, yeah, that's it. We're out of fuel. Let's see for fun here. Should I try to see if I can go just a little further? Put under load like you're going here. Maybe stop for a minute, let it resettle. We're going crazy. Oh, no, it's starting to do again. Sorry, okay, we got it. Okay, I don't want to burn it up. 114.3 miles according to this. 109.1 average speed. It's gonna start going down because I'm sitting here. We were saying 50 just a second ago, 49, 50 miles an hour. We were on the backcountry roads going anywhere from sort of 50 to 70 miles an hour, just depending. Went through a couple little towns where I had to slow down to like 30 miles an hour or so a few times. Like if I wanted to just make it the highest, I guess I could have cruised at like 50 something the whole time.
Now that we know what it'll do, let's check out the IMS tank. And here they are, black and natural. Replacing that cheap little stamped 2-piece tank with some tank that really fills in and takes advantages of the extra space it can fill in, make it bigger. How much bigger? Well, the stock tank is 2.1 gallons, and these guys are 2.5 gallon. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to hear either. And I asked IMS, is that as big as they could really make it? I really wanted to see like at least 3 gallons. They told me, hey, it just kind of is what it is what they could fit in there. But I'm gonna hold my judgments out until this thing is installed so I can see how it fits, how it lines up with everything. And after we range test it, then I'm gonna give my opinion on that size. Heck, maybe the range is considerably bigger over stock. Maybe it's not just, 0.4 gallons in mile per gallon's more better. Maybe there's something going on there I don't see. Regardless, there are still some nice benefits to going with a plastic tank over the steel one. Well, I don't have to worry about this thing rusting. That thing you will. I know some people will say, well, this will be lighter. I doubt this will actually be any significant amount lighter over the steel one. This won't heat soak as much as the metal tank will. And if you want, you can get them in transparent like this so you can see your fuel level on the bike. Now, I will say with this bike, most of your tank is going to be covered under these plastics. You're not going to see a lot of it. You're only going to see this little top bit. And since they're my tanks, I can do what I want. This is the one I'm going to be giving away. I'll explain that at some point else in the video, how we'll do the giveaway for this. Looks well made. I've had an IMS tank on one of my bikes before. My WR450, the entire time I owned it, had a 3-gallon IMS tank, and I loved it. It was great. I'm glad I had it. We're going to do a little bit of a modification to this when we install it, so I can still run tank bags on top of here. So stay tuned to that. Let's get to the bike. To start with, you want to pull your seat off. Then remove the tank shrouds, push this little pin in. This whole guy will slide out. 2 more of these pins right here. Then there's 3 bolts holding it on. Now repeat for the other one. There's 4 bolts holding on the tank. We can go ahead and start removing those. Now we'll need to lift the tank up to get underneath it, disconnect everything. Kind of a more sharper edge right here on the tank. You have to sort of tilt up into it. So what I like to do is just grab a little rag like this, kind of stuff it up in between here. That way we're not scratching the frame up. Now we can kind of grab this whole thing and kind of wiggle it off the post down here, get it loose. Take something like a little dead blow or something here, kind of lift up on it a little bit. Stick that underneath there. That gives me some working room to get everything disconnected. There's a couple things to disconnect. Main plug to the fuel pump. There's also what controls the meter. Just tuck that to the side for a moment. This is the vent. Stock configurations. This goes to a charcoal canister. On this bike, the emissions cones have been removed, so this just vents to ground. Either way, it doesn't matter. This is what the new vent on top of the tank is going to hook to, or just fully replace. We may do that as well. Tuck that to the side. And this is just our main fuel line. There's some little fingers in here that if you can get them to come open, put a little pressure on it. Oh, you got that one pulled up. And do the same to this one. A little bit of fuel will drip out, and it comes off. We're doing the rest of this video with the door open. I was like, gonna grab a funnel and do it. No, I'll just do this, it'll be fine. All right, at this point, I can start assembling all the hardware onto the new tank. Technically, it tells me to put like the fuel pump in right now, but we're actually gonna skip that and come back to it. That'll make sense in a little bit when we do the vent. But I'm reading over these instructions, and you can't even see them because it's all white out. It doesn't matter because these are fairly vague. IMS, what you really need to do is also include with this a diagram of how everything goes. I get it where these go. Which way do they go? They can be flipped upside down or left or right. I'm really gonna have to like kind of trial this slightly, but it's alright because you'll get to watch this video and I'll have done the hard work for you. I'm gonna like loosely put everything together and try to fit it up on the bike. So I popped these out of the stock tank. These were the little grommet rubber things that went on the back. Oh, that's interesting. None of these screws fit. These are the main screws that they sent. They're all like, there's 12 of these and it dictates that there's 12, but none of these. Okay, hang on. Okay, interesting discovery. It just pulled out, since I have 3 of these tanks here, I just pulled the sheet out from a different one. It says it's the same part list. These are the main screws it comes with. They're a little bit different, and these fit. I think they sent the wrong hardware with one of them. So I will check the other one that's in the giveaway and make sure that it has the correct hardware, and I'll send this wrong hardware with the one I'm returning to them. All right, so we've reorganized it. There's 2 sets of L brackets. One has got a little more elongated hole, and one's got a more round hole. These more round hole ones are what they sent these little grommets. I bet these go in here, almost sure of it. Fit in there just fine, and then there's this little metal sleeve collar thing. I bet that's gonna go right in there. Oh yeah. In fact, this was basically in the other kit, just already assembled. That's why I couldn't figure out what they were, because it kept referring to this metal sleeve and making this. I was like, I don't have the stuff to do that. I mean, it's fine if they want to assemble this for you in the box. They just need to make that clear. But once again, I'm going to guesstimate that this bracket goes in this direction. And then we're going to put these guys up here. And again, I don't know. For anyone who thinks I just do this stuff and take all these sponsored parts and just say nice things. I mean, look, I'm telling you, I'm being real with you guys. Let's go put this up on the bike and see if we can make sense of it. right. These side brackets flipped in, that looks dead right. They're both lined up exactly where they need to be. These brackets, however, clearly look to be wrong, and we need to flip these around. Now that's looking better. Flip the other bracket, and I'm gonna Loctite all these bolts. I put the little spacer washers just right there. I'll get on the rear post first. Using one of the longer bolts they provide you with in the washer. There's one bolt you have that there's just one of the one size, as well as this little collar piece. That's gonna be what goes right here and holds the seat on. Don't Loctite the other hardware that was holding the tank like down. You know, that's something that's gotta come on and off. Now to explain why I've done this all out of order and not put the fuel pump in and made this like the final assembly, well, it all comes down to the vent. Tanks have to vent. When the fuel drops, we got to replace that with air. And on the other side too, we also don't want to just have a one-way valve on there because we don't want this thing to pressurize. Things get hot and you open the cap and it flies everywhere. No, we want this thing to be able to breathe in and out really good. Stock tank, the vent comes up through the bottom. A metal hose that goes all the way up to the high point of the tank, and that's how it vents. So in the new system, we vent through the cap here. We have a little bit of an air to fuel separator. It's not a one-way valve. And we put a little hose on the top like this, and then we run this, take it down to the stock charcoal canister, or in a case like this bike, since we don't have one, we would just vent that to the ground somewhere. And you know what? Life would be good. Except I also like to take this into adventure mode sometimes. And when I do that, I like to run a tank bag. And if you see here, there's a little bit of a problem. That ain't gonna work. We're gonna smash this thing off and pinch it if we do that. Now what some people do is they'll bring the thing way back like this and put it partially over the seat. I guess that's fine for some people, but I like to get up tight on the seat sometimes, so that's not gonna work for me. Other option is just get a really small bag. What can you do? Well, IMS has a solution for that. 90-degree vent. We're just gonna put this little vent maybe somewhere about right here. I'm gonna put it on this side of the tank because when we're on kickstand, this is the highest part, and that means it's all gonna be flat across here. As long as we're fairly close to this cap, this could still be underneath here, but it's not gonna be pinched. And the thing is, to do that, we gotta get access to this nut from inside the tank. What I wanted to do now, though, is kind of mark and figure out how I wanna run this thing. So to do that, I had to install the whole thing. Now we could just take this hose and run it sort of down somewhere like this, find a good routing for it where the bars aren't pinching it or anything. When the tank is real full and sloshing, you're gonna get a little bit of fuel spilling down this line until it goes down a little bit. What we could do is loop it up and put it into this hole right here, the steering stem hole. That's where a lot of dirt bikes put it. And I know you're thinking, yeah, but if you do that, isn't it the same problem before, having this little loop right here? I don't think so. I don't see any issue with the bars doing it like that. This is sitting up here, and I don't see any issues. And we get the little bit of advantage of having a little bit of an uphill run that any fuel would have to do to come up this. So hopefully the air and fuel will separate in here before it can get out. I think everything was happy with that, right? So I want my hole right there, vent going in that direction. Now we can take this back off. I'm gonna start with a smallish pilot hole. Still small enough that I can like sort of thread it in and really get a tight fit on this. That's gonna be a pretty snug fit right there, but that should do it. I'm gonna pull it back out here in just a second. I'm gonna pull this cap off and we're gonna try to blow all the bits of junk we just got in there out. I'm gonna throw a little bit of this seal all up around the threads. There is an O-ring on here. This is gas and oil resistant, so this adhesive can act almost like a little bit of a Loctite, if you will. And I really don't, oh my gosh, it globbed out so much. I never need that much. Actually, I believe the directions for this say you need to let this sit for a minute or two before you apply the parts to let it get tacky. So we'll let that sit for just a minute. All right, it should be enough time. Let's crank this down. I use a little contact cleaner to clean up the excess glue. I just tried this a second ago. I was just able to get my hand in here and get this nut started. And then with a big swizzle here, I should be able to get it on. I did throw a little bit of seal all on there just a few minutes ago, and I would stop and wait for the fire trucks to go by now, but this has now been enough time. I need to install this. So, you know, it's like those mechanic meme pages where they're like, the girl's like, where did you learn to do that? You know, with his hands. I can't do it with the glove on. It's all right, just my skin. Remember, righty tighty, lefty loose is reversed right now. I think I got it. All right. When doing something like this, you want to use gravity with you. I'm gonna hold, obviously, my top one because I have it in the position I want. Snug it up down at the bottom. It's tight. According to the directions, fully cures in 2 to 6 hours. So just, I'm not gonna put fuel in this till tomorrow anyway at this point. The other thing we need to do then is our cap. Just gonna take a little nipple guy right here, force that on. Now our cap is sealed. That's easy enough. All that so we can put a tank bag on there. It's not that bad. Literally, that's a $10 part, so. Let's get the fuel pump in there though. I've reopened my garage door because I'm gonna be messing with these fuel tanks again. I don't wanna be smelling all the fumes. There's kids over there playing baseball, so it is what it is. Pop this line up and kind of swivel this out of the way, a little contact cleaner. There's actually evidence of little bits of surface rust all over this tank already. It's just kind of sad, it's brand new. fuel pump, and then there should be the little float guy in here. Sometimes it'd be a little fiddly to get this to come out. Yeah, technically you should replace this gasket down here. So again, float in kind of first. We have to kind of get this piece in. And this guy went on just like that. We'll kind of stage these down in a crisscross pattern. This time I'm just going to bring them in until they feel like they're about to stop. And you don't want to over tighten these, but you do want to make sure they're nice and snug down. There's no torque specs they give for this. I'm sure the factory manual's got one though. That should be good. I'll just re-pop this on like it was before. And I will say, you know, I said before I didn't think it was heavier. Even with the fuel pump out, this is probably twice as heavy. So yes, there is some weight savings with that. Even full, I bet this isn't as heavy as this is. So we have this hose right here, which I stuffed to the side. This is the one that goes up into the tank. It's the stock vent. If you're still running the charcoal canister, you really need to link this hose to the vent. You can run it down the side, clip it to this, whatever, right? Since I don't have it, just runs the ground. I'm just gonna take it out. There. Now I don't have it. What I do need to do though is remove this little cap right here so I can run the hose in here like a traditional dirt bike. It's got some kind of cap thing like I said on here. I guess I could remove the bars and properly remove this. It's easy enough. Notice there's a little bit of surface rust on there. I'll take some WD-40. This has just been opened, it wouldn't have rusted. It's because there was a little cap and water would get underneath here occasionally, probably when I was cleaning the bike, and it would just sit. So we can go ahead and connect the tank back up now. You can back up a little easier than taking it apart. I'm gonna push this clip. Connect the fuel pump. Oh, there goes my hammer. Oh no. Luckily this tank's lighter, it's not that big of a deal. So I find it's easiest to rock it onto the rear post first. And get it onto those. And then you can kind of guide in the front. And I'll loosely put in all the bolts again to start. Snug it down now. Now for our vent. Now yeah, the bottom of this too, we're just gonna go down to the bottom of it. There's actually like a groove in the back of the fender. If any fuel splashes out, I'll just run back down there. Again, this is how most dirt bikes do it. This is completely fine to do. There goes, it kind of bottoms out right there. And we'll just leave about as much of that in here as we can get. I'm gonna tuck it between my little bars here. Have a little bit of a loop like that in it. And we can kind of test that. That seems fine. I don't see any issues with that. I'll cut the other end of this at a bit of an angle just so there's no like weird chance of this ever like touching on something and, you know, acting weird. Also, slash cuts add more horsepower. Everyone knows that. All right, there we go. Seems happy. No problem. That's not gonna pinch that line at all. Perfect. Okay, cool. We can start putting the side plastics back on. The instructions technically say to remove these little pieces of dual lock Velcro. We don't have them on the new tank. I can tell you, I just have this thing up there test fitting it, and these don't even touch the tank anyway. You can remove them if you want. I don't think it's necessary. There you go, just like that. Those little plastic push pins that came in before, push them in the other direction so that the little pin part is out. Slot those in, then you push the button. And now these two are locked together. Make it go from an innie to an outie. Get all of our bolts here started. This bottom one needs a little forward flex to go on, but that is how it's always been. The one I'm really interested in is this guy right here, because this is our new threaded point. I want to make sure that we're not gonna like, you know, bottom out and break through the tank. Hopefully they gave us enough depth here. Yeah, it feels good. They gave us enough depth there. Awesome. Tanks sometimes cause weird issues with seat fitment. We have an aftermarket foam on here, so is this gonna be tricky? I don't know, let's see. I'm also not making my life any easier with my rear rack on right now. They do slightly interfere with each other when you're trying to put them on. Okay, that goes in like that. Just like that. Hey, there you go. That wasn't hard. That's locked in. It's locked in. Ah, that's not bad. And there she is, all installed. I could see a few places you could nitpick some fit and finish things, but from other oversized tanks I've seen before, this is actually a great fit. Everything bolted up really well. I do have a little bit of a gap between the seat and the tank right here, but aftermarket tank with aftermarket seat. Definitely nothing I'm gonna lose sleep over. I left the cap off all night just to let the adhesives in there fully cure and dry. They should be good now. A couple hours ago, I threw some fuel in here. And actually get your hand underneath here and touch the bottom of the fuel pump. Worked my hand all the way around there just to make sure there was like no leaks or anything, like, you know, kind of, didn't feel or smell anything that alarmed me, so everything seems to be sealed up. It's working well. Only one thing left to do. It's time for the range test. Back at the original gas station, let's get my reserve filled up. And this is interesting here because look, I can leave my keys in the ignition now. Just unscrew that.
And this, I guess I'll just sit like that. That's actually way more convenient because before you always had the key and the thing with it. Now you can just do that. I guess if you had the normal setup, you just let it dangle to the side. Oh, I can see the float now. Oh, do you see that? It's coming up. You know, in the old tank, you kind of have these like little bars going across. You kind of know that's a good stopping point. That seems fair, right? Reset fields, reset this one. Let's get going. Again, the same as before, haven't changed anything else. It's a funny statement, but this tank looks a little more proper, you know what I'm saying? Like what was on there before, you would just look down, you'd see that tank and you're like, yeah, budget dirt bike-ish, you know, tank, not a serious looking bike. This is like, oh yeah, the same kind of tank you'd see on a 450 or anything else. It's a silly comment, I know. There's the Red River again. We are entering Oklahoma. I'm still not at a half tank yet. It's not that I don't like you, Oklahoma. We just, you know, we're doing it. We're just here for a test. Come back another time. We'll do some riding. Ah, no, hang on. There we go. I almost messed it up there. So we gotta repeat the test to accuracy, you know. Red River again. Welcome back to old Texas. Yeehaw. 71 miles according to this guy, and actual 65. Well, this is where we were last time we were starting to run out. Let's have a little sit rep here. We're showing 118, actual 109.1. So yeah, this is accurate. Average speed slightly higher on this run. Oh, we just started flashing. Maybe because of the hill I'm sitting on right here. And if it holds true to last time, I went like, what, almost 30 extra miles after that. Still going strong at 124 miles. Just had a little stutter. It was a small one, but we're getting close. Oh, okay. Turn it off. We'll do like we did before, and we're gonna let X give it to you. There we go, that's it. 157.4 miles, 144.7 actual. That math does kind of add up for what we kind of thought it would do. It's kind of funny too, I was just thinking about this a minute ago. Like when I bought this bike, it had 4 places for the key to go. Obviously the ignition, fuel tank, the little lock box right here, and the helmet lock. And through modifications, I'm down to 1. So if you were looking at this channel to give you good security measures, this wasn't the right one.
Thoughts on the IMS tank? Let's see. Quality of the product. It's fine, it's good, everything fit well, went well, give it 5. It never had a rating system before. Let's randomly bring one in now. Installation goes, I have to give it 3 out of 5. The only reason is 2 things. One, we need some kind of diagram actually showing where everything goes. Something that says, hey, this is how it's all should be lined up when it goes on. Have that, we'll be fine. And then you're gonna lose another star because y'all did send the wrong hardware, at least one of those bags. Minus those 2 things, it's actually a fairly straightforward process. As far as how it looks on the bike, I think it looks proper. It doesn't look weird. Now, initially, I wanted to beat up IMS for only making this tank 2.5 gallons. In our emails back and forth, I literally told them, I'm like, I hope y'all didn't just like mail this in and just rush one to market. Like I really thought they should have fuel going out over the tank shrouds like they do on a lot of other bikes. But on this bike, when you crank the bar side to side, there's very little room in there. You gotta remember in stock form, there was a turn signal that almost runs into there and I cut them off on my bike. They have to make it work with OEM. They can't sell a tank that like fills that space in and say, oh, just watch Jake the TheGardenSnakes video and take your old headlight assembly apart and cut the things off that held the turn signals and repaint it, and that'd be unreasonable and insane. The only place you can really get more fuel out of this shape, well, there's 2 ways. One, you actually make one of those big gnarly tanks that replaces these tank shrouds. That would be slightly complicated on this bike. The shape of these, they come all the way back to here. Fuel pump is like right here. So if we have like a big pocket of fuel down here, that's not ideal. The shape of this fairing and how they built it, it makes it tricky. The other place though you could make it bigger is to go up here and make it real large. And I think when you look at aftermarket tanks, you tend to see some of them are clearly oversized tanks. And there's a lot of people that don't care. They don't care if it looks a little funny because it's a big oversized tank. And then there's ones that look almost like stock if you didn't know better. And I think that's kind of what they were going for here. And if you're going to go for that look, that's kind of what you end up with. So then the big question is it worth it? Well, that is going to be subjective. So for that, I'm just going to try to give you the best info I can. If you're in the US, I think it ships for free. It was $422 with taxes, $422 for 35 miles of range. Now I can always sit there and make the argument, hey, that 35 miles could be the difference between all kinds of scenarios. You can always make that argument. I think you can also gotta consider that there are other fuel options out there if you're trying to extend the range of your bike. Like for instance, a Rotopack with a rack for the T-Rex rack there, Rotopack and the mounting system. That cost us all of $252 and gives us an entire extra gallon of fuel, which even at worst, I think I calculated this here at 60 miles of extended range. In reality, it's probably a little more than that. And you gotta remember too, you can also very easily make this even bigger. Put another Rotopack on top. We could go to a bigger one. There's ways of going even further and further and further for not a terrible amount more money. So the Rotopack system would cost you $4.20 per extra mile gained, where the IMS tank would cost you $12.05 per extra mile gained. I know with that, I probably just made you go, well, the IMS tank is a horrible value, but that doesn't account to everything. Like, let's say you're doing something like road tripping, like I was doing recently. I had to stop so often and refill it, and it's a tedious process. I know this sounds like nitpicky, but every time you know, between fuel stops, if you have to stop, move gas from your Rotopack into your main tank, you probably have a bag, at least I did partially over this. I had a tank bag on. You got to remove all that, build this on the side of the road, put the whole thing together, fill the tank, put it all back, go. And when you get to the next gas station, you got to disassemble it all again so you can refill it. If you're just doing this once or twice a day, no big deal. But if you're on a road trip like I was, having to do this every, 45 minutes to an hour, it's incredibly tedious. That would have got me within the range of like Matt, who I was riding with, who could go a little over 100 miles on his bike. I feel like that gets you within the proper range. But then again, is that still worth it to you for $422? You're gonna have to decide for yourself. I'm glad I have the tank, and when I do adventure stuff, I'm still going to bring the Rotopack as well, because I believe I could realistically go 200 miles. The kind of places I'm gonna go and take this thing, I should be fine with that when I'm doing adventure stuff. But like I said, there's other options too you can look into. There's all kinds of fuel storage devices. I know in my Discord last night, one of the things we were looking at was one of those Cherubies tanks that goes on the back here. Like, I think it holds 1.6 gallons. Reach back once it gets to like E and flip it on. Hopefully I've given you enough information to make your own decision. I hate to just do a video and be like, yes, this is the product, get it. Because like sometimes I feel incredibly strong about something. Like the Insta360 cameras. Like, yes, don't get GoPros, get these. These are better. Where with this, I'm like, I can see. Again, remember, there are some other benefits you get, like this is not going to rust. If there's a question you have that I have not answered in this video about this fuel tank, ask it in the comments. Try to reply to those. What about our giveaway tank? Well, first of all, there's a longer extra version of this video over on Patreon. It came out probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago. 2 to 3 videos ahead on average. So if you want to see the full version of this video, go over there and check that out. Also, hang out with me in the Discord chats, where I'm in voice sounds pretty regularly. Oh my God, there goes that. Yep, it's the non-ram mount one. The bolt must have let go. Now the real question is, are you still working? Seems to have paused itself with that. I have lens protectors on here. Screen looks okay. You definitely scratched those up, but these are lens protectors. These could be replaced. Looks straight, looks good. Seems to be recording. It's all scratched up though. That ends the 360 footage for today. As far as giving away this gas tank, I'm gonna have to give this away only in the United States because of legalities and whatnot of sending this. Technically, this isn't even really legal here, this fuel tank, but sending one abroad is maybe not the best idea. I just can't mess with that. So if you're in the US and you want this tank, what I want to see is the person who's got the most miles on their CRF300L. How many miles have you done with that stock tank and you really need, even if it's just going to be an extra 35 miles, that would be a big deal to you. Go to my Instagram, and which is Jake_TheGardenSnake. DM me a picture of your odometer. Don't cheat. And then comment on this video just so I know I haven't missed one of them. Like make this a separate comment than your normal comment if you're gonna like leave another just general comment, just so I can search this more easily. Just put like CRF300L and then this many miles. Do that as a comment, because then I can search all those, and we'll do this in a week after the public version goes out for you on Patreon. Sorry, I gotta give everyone a chance, Woo. Look at this though, we'll tractor up this thing. This thing can do the tractoring thing if it needs to. Comment if you have any questions. Comment if you just want to comment. Helps the algorithm, all that stuff. Like if you want to help me out here on YouTube. I've been starting to kind of cross-platform onto other things because it's gotten kind of weird over here lately. See you later.